So the back upright, which helps us to feel very confident and stable, even dignified. And the front of the body naturally open in that posture, not hunched over. And this proclaims again our confidence and willingness to open up, to communicate with the world, communicate with other people. Sometimes very difficult to communicate. We feel very hesitant. We feel, we feel a little bit afraid of communicating in a heartfelt manner. But for us on this path of the Bodhisattva, we have to learn to really open up and communicate as much as we can in a skillful way with other people in order to, in whatever way can bring benefit. Yep. So front of the body is open, heart is exposed. So that's a sense of being vulnerable in the best way to the world, not closing off, not being like a rock. We can be stable, upright, dignified, but also open and in touch with others. That's very important. Not to feel we have to hide or be detached from the world in a very cocoon-like sense. We don't want to shut off and, close the door on other people. That's the last thing we want to do as somebody who is aspiring towards Mahayana attitude based on great compassion. So get a feel for the posture. Remember the motivation, how all beings are just like us, wanting to be happy, not wanting to suffer, and due to so many causes and conditions, but primarily due to inner ignorance, attachment, and aversion, anger. Due to these factors, we create the cause for opposite of what we want. We create the cause for suffering again and again and again. So, and as we go through our daily lives, so many things can awaken our compassion, our wish to be of some benefit, our feeling for others, aspiration to help. Could be anything, could be a person, could be an animal, could be anything. You could have been watching the World Cup final, and even though you may have been an Argentine supporter, you might have felt some sadness, some compassion for the losing team, because imagine how they feel. One might have felt something for them. Instead of just jumping up and down or shouting, for our team, we might have also felt something for the other team. It's possible. That's very human. So we can rejoice and we can develop compassion at the same time, watching just one football match. So think, in order to be of benefit to others, I've got to be strong and skillful and full of positive energy myself. And for that to happen, I have to have some kind of controls over my mind. I have to tame my mind, which right now is out of control. So therefore, before we engage in analysis of the text, the great text of Shantideva, we need to calm the mind, stabilize it a little bit with the breath awareness practice. So let's bring our attention to the normal, natural breathing. The sensation of breath as we breathe in and out, the sensation at the nostrils, the tip of the nostrils, or the sensation at the abdomen, the rising and falling of the abdomen as we breathe in and out. Maintain a sense of stillness, a sense of relaxation, and a sense of being very awake and alert. And be attentive to tension in the muscles of the face, the shoulders, solar plexus. Very easy to develop tension in those areas, of course, anywhere in the body. So be attentive to that. We can use the out breath to let go. Use the out breath to let go of any tension. Feel it's just leaving the body with the out breath. And there's a sense of relief, a sense of dissolving each time we breathe out. So let's practice like this for a little while. If thoughts come, recognize, let them go in a relaxed way. Come back to the breath. Just come back to the breath. Okay. You can slowly open our eyes if we wish. Get ready for the next part of the session. The sound you're hearing is a tradition of Goa. The person is selling bread, small breads, pao. He comes on a bicycle with a basket full of breads. So it's really nice. It's been going on for many years, I suppose. So he signals his appearance with that particular horn. And they come morning, early morning, and then evening. Okay, so we are looking at the meditation chapter. Just to recap, Shantideva is in the section we've been looking at, encouraging us to seek solitude in some very, very beautiful verses and some very powerful verses. He's even saying that how wonderful it would be to, die alone without anybody knowing, so that one is not disturbed as one is dying by grieving and quarreling people, relations and friends and so forth. And die peacefully alone. And his, of course, part of his logic is that, we're born alone and we live alone, we die alone. So that's just the truth of it. So why create a fuss, In verse 35, for example, he said, there with no one befriending or begrudging, my body will dwell alone in solitude. And if I'm already counted as a dead person, then when I die, there will be no mourners, nobody mourning, nobody making a fuss, nobody crying and wailing and so forth. So it's better for me, it's better for the others too. I might as well already be lost to the world. That is his argument. And staying all alone, the sound of mourning will not disturb me. There'll be no one to distract me, he says. So therefore, I'll be able to remember the Buddha. Be able to remember the Buddha. The Lamas say, the teachers say that we may not be very advanced people in terms of our practice, but at least while we're dying, if we can remember the Buddha, or if we can remember our teachers, if we can remember compassion, love and compassion, then this is excellent. That's a wonderful way to die, rather than in confusion or anger or fear or, grasping, clinging desperately to life, better to, think of the Buddha and the practice. That's the way to go. And that can only happen, of course, if we have generated certain understandings during our life of the painful nature of life, unsatisfactory nature of ordinary worldly existence, and the shortcomings of what are called the 8 worldly feelings, which is a theme that is coming up again and again and again, of course, in these teachings. The how we are normally distracted by pleasure, pain, gain and loss, yeah, good reputation, bad reputation, praise, blame. We are caught up in all these things. That's our life. So these are instructions for dying. So therefore, he says in verse 37, another beautiful verse, therefore I shall dwell alone, happy and contented with few difficulties, in very joyful and beautiful forests, pacifying all distractions. And what can be done there? Why should one do that? Basically, in order to, having given up all other intentions, to be motivated by only one thought, the compassion, motivation, and so forth. And then to strive to settle my mind in balance, in equipoise, by means of the calm abiding meditation. This is a stabilizing meditation which helps to focus and calm the mind. And then to completely subdue it with vipassana, superior insight, insight into the truth. That is what finally destroys, cuts the root of our pain, the wisdom that cuts ignorance. So this is the main purpose for going into the forest. We'll be able to help others because we're not only pacifying our mind and making it one-pointed and calm and clear, but we also, that very mind is then used to get to the deepest level of who we are, how we exist, get rid of any false notions, any wrong views there. Because it's the wrong views that cause us to misunderstand the world, misperceive who we are, misperceive others. Now, from verse 39 onwards, Shantideva is going to be teaching on the shortcomings, especially of desire, attachment, and especially sexual desire. You see, he's giving this teaching, remember, at Nalanda University, to an audience who would have been, very largely, vast majority would have been monks, male. I doubt there'd have been even one woman in the audience, unless some cleaning lady was listening, from the side. I don't know if they allowed cleaning ladies in Nalanda. They're probably just men, the monks themselves, or whoever cleaning, who knows? Probably someone knows. Someone might have done some research on that. I have no idea. But anyway, I can guarantee that the only ladies there might have been some disembodied other kind of beings, spirit beings or whatever, who may have been looking on, or some devis, some goddesses. That's possible. But probably no human women there. So you have to understand this context, because what comes next, quite a few verses, it's easy for women, especially women who are, feminists or very strongly in the Me Too movement, they might get quite upset by the logic that is which is coming now. Because it's a very breathtaking and relentless logic that he is going to be applying. He's undermining any reasoning we may have for craving and desire. He's showing how illogical it is, how stupid it is, and therefore something to be given up, because it just creates problems. So let's see what he says. Verse 39. Both in this world and the next, meaning in the next life, desires give rise to great misfortune. In this life, killing, bondage, wounds, death, and in the next, the existence of the hells. So it is said that tremendous desire, just like tremendous anger, of course, can create the cause for very, very painful kind of future experience after we die. Not only while we're alive, of course, but desire can create so many problems, but after we die too. The mind is just caught up in this very, very, very tight wanting, craving. And that is a very painful mind, and it gives rise to tremendous, one could say, kind of hallucinations, which is what the hell realms are. They're a kind of terrible hallucination that we can experience after we die from this body. Similar or much worse than a nightmare, but without the benefits of waking up the next morning to a cup of good coffee or tea, In hell, there's no good coffee, cup of coffee or tea to wake up to. So he's saying this is what desire can give rise to. Now he's getting into details about what basically men do to get the objects of their sexual desire. For the sake of women, verse 40, for the sake of women, many requests are first of all made through go-betweens. All forms of transgression and even notoriety are not avoided for their sake. Matlab, we can go to many extremes to try and get the object of our desire. We may send messages through somebody who doesn't really want to maybe also send, be the bearer of those messages. We send messages because it might be very hard to meet that other person. They may be under the protection of their parents, or, still a very young person. Whatever it is, there are so many difficulties in directly meeting the object of one's desire, if it's another person, So, of course, here we should, as modern people, we should imagine now that it's not just Shantideva talking to monks, but it's also a kind of female Shantideva, a great lady teacher talking to nuns and to laywomen. So what Shantideva says about women, it just as much applies to men, meaning it can be a teaching not just for men, but a teaching for women to be careful of their desire for men, for the male body. Okay? That would be the obvious way to look at it, because otherwise you will feel left out if you're not a monk or a male. You might feel this teaching is not for you, but this teaching actually is for everybody, male, female, or anything else. Okay, so, and then it's not just about people having to send messages. Of course, now it's easy, we can send WhatsApp messages, can't we? Which other people, parents and so forth, won't be able to see, unless the other person is careless. But in Shantideva's day, you would have to send a message, a written message with somebody. And bad luck for you if your lover or the person you desire is a long way away, maybe 20, 30 miles away, many villages away. So then everything becomes more tiresome and more, time consuming. Of course, in those days, people had time, They didn't expect quick answers to their letters, obviously. Anyway, so it's not only about go-betweens, we do lots of, we make a lot of mistakes and create a lot of sin, a lot of unwholesome activity in trying to get the objects of our desire. We may lie, we may cheat, we may harm others, harm the people who seem to be in the way, or tell them lies. we're prepared to, engage in all manner of activity that we wouldn't if our mind were calm and clear without the fever of desire, right? Without the fever of desire. But with the fever of desire, we seem to be capable of doing all sorts of stupid things. All sorts of transgressions, notoriety, matlab getting a bad reputation, we don't care. We're prepared to be wounded, And of course, then we're prepared to engage in sexual misconduct, which here means basically it would mean having sexual relations with someone who is already married or already has a partner and so forth, or it could be an underage person and so forth, or just very inappropriate because that person is still very much being protected or under the control of their parents, etc. So to have sexual relations with such a person is very inappropriate. But still, we may want to do that, out of so much desire. I engage in fearful deeds for them, verse 41, and will even consume my wealth. But these very bodies of theirs, which I greatly enjoy in the sexual embrace, are nothing other than skeletons. They are not autonomous and are identity-less. So rather than being so desirous and completely obsessed, why do I not go to the state beyond sorrow instead? Okay, so yeah, this carries on. I'm prepared to do all kinds of things. I may use up whatever money I have in purchasing things for the object of one's desire. Maybe buying, if we have the money, jewelry and cars and even houses, estates, maybe, or at least lots and lots of small things if we don't have much money. But we spend a lot of our wealth on the object of our desire, But he's saying, the bodies of others, which we may enjoy a lot in the sexual embrace, if we begin to analyze them, what are they? What is a body? What is a body? Basically, it's a skeleton plastered with flesh, which, of course, as Shantideva goes on to say later, the flesh has to be constantly cleaned and made to look and smell nice, because otherwise, very quickly, it gets dirty and doesn't smell nice, Right? Maybe our own body, we don't mind the smell, but actually, it's not a great smell, especially in warm weather, humid weather. If you have been around with your clothes for half a day in the Indian monsoon, or in August, September, October, when it stopped raining, but very hot, very humid, then very overpowering, the smell of the human body. And it also depends on what we eat, doesn't it? We eat a lot of garlic, or onion, meat, or flesh of animals, then again, the sweat is even worse. The smell is even worse. And I well remember being in crowded buses in Bihar in the late 1980s. I used to travel by bus. Whenever I could, I would travel on the roof, because inside the bus, it was so smelly, Now it's very different in places like Delhi. Men also use a lot of deodorants, perfumes. In those days, especially in rural Bihar, you have to put up with ordinary body smell, and it's not great. It's not great. Some of you may never have had that wonderful experience to travel in a crowded bus with people who have a different, level of hygiene. They, just natural smell of the human body. Anyway, I'm jumping ahead. What he's saying in verse 42 is that these bodies, which we think are so wonderful, actually they don't have any autonomy. They are not independent of other factors, and they are actually without any kind of permanent solid identity. Although it feels like there's something very real and solid and independent and wonderful and attractive there, but it's not like that. Actually, there's no identity that one can point to. So he's saying, rather than being, of course, this brings out very, very powerfully, of course, later and in chapter 9, which is the chapter on wisdom, this is where he totally deconstructs, of course, the I and what we call inherent existence. That is more something that comes in chapter 9. But here he is, obviously, he has to make a note of it, because if we were to understand properly identitylessness, right, then then we would be free. Then we would be free. This other translation says this: of what in truth is nothing but a heap of bones, devoid of self, without its own existence. Is this the only object of desire and lust? Sooner pass beyond all suffering and grief. So what is being implied is that we are getting attached to something which is a hallucination. And it is really stirring us up, making us full of desire, completely obsessed. So he's saying, why don't we aim for nirvana instead? Why don't we aim for peace? Why are we caught up in something that is going to just create a lot of lack of peace? A total vibration which is disturbing the mind, constantly disturbing the mind, preventing us from, of course, meditating properly or studying or even sleeping, because we're constantly, the object of desire is coming up in the mind, right? Totally grasping at that object as something real outside and really there from its own side, independent of causes, conditions, parts, independent of one's own projection. One is seeing it in that way, as some objective entity out there, which is totally wrong. It's a hallucination. I love that sound. It's a very plaintive kind of sound. Not these horrible modern horns of cars, which are so jerky and somehow, yeah, not nice. Anyway, see, I associate the sound with lovely bread, fresh bread. Maybe you folks don't. For you, it's intrusion on stops you hearing properly what I'm saying. But actually, it's for me, it's a very nice sound. Okay, let's get on with this. So then he's now giving tremendous details about the whole process of what we do here, the courtship. In the first place, I made efforts to lift her veil. So you could imagine a scene from a Hindi movie, right? But if you can see Hindi movies in Turkey, but I'm sure you have your own version there. So in the first place, I make efforts to lift her veil, yeah, the cloth. When it was raised, she bashfully looked down. Previously, whether anyone looked or not, her face was covered with a cloth. Well, now that she's become the object of my desire, I am really paying attention to her face. Yeah. So now, verse 44, yet now, why do I run away upon directly seeing this face, which disturbs the mind as it is being revealed to me by the vultures? समझ गए ना? You understand what's happening now. It's this nature of the body, the face, everything we are attracted to change and to die. And we're certainly not attracted to a dead body, especially in the old days when the birds, the vultures, would come and start eating it. Can you imagine? Those eyes, those lips, those things that we love, the vulture is coming and tearing at it. Yum. Not nice. Not nice at all. Previously, I completely protected her body when others cast their eyes upon it. Why, miser, do you not protect it now while it is being devoured by these birds? Goodness me, he really gets in there, right? You could make an amazing film based on this, documentary, or I don't know, animated thing. Why do I run away? Previously, we really were very protective of the person that we felt desire for, right? We get very upset if people even look at the person with obvious interest. It becomes very disturbing for our mind when that happens. Very disturbing. You know, we're prepared to fight with people who are looking at our desired one with with interest, with eyes of desire. So now he's saying, you miser matlab, why? Because you didn't want to share this person with others before. So now why don't you protect the body? Why don't you protect the body of this person now? While the birds are eating it. While the birds are eating the dead body, you go ahead and protect it now, What's your problem? Since vultures and others are eating this pile of meat that I behold, why did I offer flower garden, garlands, sandalwood, and ornaments to that which is now the food of others? Good grief. You may violently disagree with this kind of logic because it's a certain kind of logic. Yeah, you'll say, well, at that time she was alive, he or she was alive. They spoke to me. They were kind to me. They, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, sure. But you can see what he's saying, right? What the nature, one of the natures of that body is what? It is impermanent. It is destined to end, to die. It could be so disgusting after a few hours or days of death, you won't want to go anywhere near that body, right? The body we offered so much to, garlands, flowers, spent so much money on. If I'm frightened by the skeletons I see, even though they do not move, why am I not frightened by walking corpses, which are moved around by a few impulses? Wow. So I'm frightened by the skeletons. In other words, I don't like the skeletons I see in the cremation ground, right? Even though they're not moving towards me or attacking. They're just lying there, these skeletons. Why don't I like them? Why am I afraid of them? Why aren't I afraid of before the walking people who are actually walking corpses, he's saying. They're walking skeletons. They just happen to have some flesh on them for the time being. What motivates them? A few impulses. If we look at the mind and mental factors teachings of Lord Buddha, or the teachings that they've been put together later in the Abhidhamma and the other traditions, then we see we are just a mass of different mental factors, impulses, and all accompanying mental factors, intentions and attentions and, perceptions. We're just a mass of different impulses working to produce certain results. If we are medical students, then we understand a lot about how the body works. All of these different things coming together just to make the body work for a while. And of course, so many things go wrong, right? So many things can go wrong. And do go wrong. Some small malfunction in the heart or the liver or the guts, plays havoc with the whole system. It's like creating a short circuit somewhere in an electrical system. Some problem somewhere, it affects the whole system. So anyway, there this thing, there's a few impulses, a whole bundle of impulses are making this skeleton walk around right now, covered by flesh, which looks very nice, some very beautiful flesh. Of course, sometimes the flesh isn't beautiful. We see someone who has a particular skin disease or is just, doesn't take care of their body. It can be very, not very nice to look at all. Even a young person's body might not be nice to look at all if they have some kind of disease or, whatever. So he's saying we should not just be afraid of skeletons that don't move, we should be afraid of skeletons that move. Walking dead. Then, excuse me, I have to get back to the Bachelor translation. Okay. Yep. So, verse 48, although I'm attached to it when it is covered with skin, why do I not desire it when it is uncovered? Since I have no need for it then, why copulate with it when it is covered? Well, we might say that's not very good logic, in a way, because it's very different, right? We'll say, obviously, if you have a contest, Mr. Universe or Miss Universe, you're not going to have a bunch of skeletons there. They're going to be live people with flesh, right? That's what we look at. So, of course, I'm going to be desired to it when it's covered with skin. And of course, I'm not going to desire it when it is not covered with skin, when it's just a skeleton. So he's saying, if I don't have any need for it when it is uncovered, when it's a skeleton, then why am I so attached to it and want to copulate with it when it is covered with skin? Well, the ordinary worldly answer would be because it looks nice and it's very attractive and engages my lust, when the person is alive. And they have the particular kind of body that I like. And of course I'm going to be attached, right? It's got skin on it, I haven't said. But you see, he's asking us also to look at longer term things and consequences. At the another angle, another perspective, I guess, of the body. Anyway, we can discuss this in a minute. Maybe just a few more verses, and then we're getting the idea of what he's trying to say here, right? I'll just read a bit also of Pema Chodron's commentary. One of the antidotes to desire relies on seeing the body's insubstantial, dreamlike nature. As Shantideva remarks in verse 42, those we lust after are nothing but a heap of bones, with no permanent or solid existence. From this point of view, it's helpful to question the solid picture that we are holding of our sexual partner. Maybe we see them as sexy and irresistibly attractive, but we catch them when they're unwashed and smelly, and passion may rapidly change to aversion. What if we desire them fully dressed, but are shocked when they take off their clothes? Maybe they're fatter or thinner than we expected, or we don't like their choice of tattoos. If passion can evaporate so quickly, what is it that we're really obsessed about? Then she gives an example of someone who has this disease called mumps, which brings out certain, bumps, I think, in the body, right? A friend of mine quickly ended a relationship after coming down with mumps. When her partner saw her so disfigured, he temporarily lost all interest in her. And by the time she had recovered her beauty, she had lost all interest in him. So it goes on, this merry dance of desire. You loved them once. When clothed and draped they were. Well, now they're naked. Why do you not want them? Ah, you say, your lust is no more there. But why did you embrace them then, when they are all bedecked and covered? He's referring again to seeing our lover's body as a corpse. What is it we're so hooked on? If we think it's their body, then why does everything change when that body is dead? Verse 49, since both excrement and saliva arise solely from food, why do I dislike excrement and find joy in saliva? Pema Chodron says to that, it may be obvious why our lovers' saliva is more appealing than their shit, but think of it, a fly would find that shit very desirable. Is anything really intrinsically desirable or revolting from its own side? Cotton too is soft to the touch, but while I find no sexual delight in a pillow, I think that a woman's body does not emit a putrid odor. Lustful one, you are confused as to what is unclean. So the other translation, taking no delight in pillows, soft though they may be to touch and stroke, you claim the human form emits no evil stench. You don't know what is clean, befooled by lust. Thinking that they cannot sleep with this cotton, although it is soft to the touch, confused, negative, and lustful people become angry towards it instead. The other translation, lustful one, befuddled by desire, because you can't copulate with them, with pillows, you angrily find fault with pillows, even though they're smooth and soft to touch. And Pema Chodron says here, Shantideva speaks of being fooled by lust, totally, caught up by desire. And he addresses the heart of the problem. It's not the sexual object that's at fault here. It's our unreasonable degree of attachment. It's our attachment that's the problem, not the object that's the problem. if I'm not attached to what is unclean, then why do I copulate with the lower parts of others' bodies, which are merely cages of bones tied together with muscles, plastered over with the mud of flesh? Maybe we stop there for discussion of this fascinating topic. Let me allow you to speak. Okay, folks. What would you like to say or ask or whatever? We have 24 minutes. Stirring stuff, yeah? Think you can make a film out of this, Sagar Bhai? Short, probably quite
No, Kabirji, I don't think so.
Interesting and comical almost. Introduction to Shantideva. They're making a 5 or 10 minute film on this chapter, this part of the chapter.
I think you should write it for me. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I can help write it. Shantideva has already given us the meat.
Yeah.
Anyway, Vikramji, you look stunned. You look surprised. Are you okay?
No, I'm fine. My only thought is that obviously this rings true in a deeper sense, but nature in a way has tricked us to feel attraction, and without that you might not have the creation of family structures and children and the protection of the species. So in a sense, this idea of illusion is maybe necessary for the propagation of the species and the creation of family structures.
I see. That's interesting. Okay. Anyone want to talk about that? So then you're saying that this desire is very necessary for the propagation of the species, right? And that without...
I'm hinting at that. It may not be essential, but I'm raising the question.
Okay, good. Haji, who would like... People, please show your faces. It's really quite disconcerting to just have names in front of one. Show your faces. Much better. It's more human. Because you're not dead yet, so you don't look awful, all of you. You're not skeletons. You are skeletons plastered with flesh and clothes, actually. Not just the flesh, but the clothes as well. So, Naveen, Aditi, Tushita, Delhi, unmask yourselves. Yep. Thank you, those who've already shown their face. Some are looking quizzical. Some are looking very stoic. I think Ajirji has taken a tranquilizer. He's not moving. He's, I think, reflecting on it. Or is that a photo? Maybe that's a photo. Or he's, yeah, okay. Thank you, Aditi. Naveen. Nishi, don't look so worried. It's okay. Yeah. As I said, this is not propaganda against women. It's Shantideva's propaganda against desire, unreasonable desire. It applies to everybody. As I said, he could be speaking to anybody, but he just happened to be speaking to monks at that time in the 8th century. Yeah. Okay. Naveenji, you're not showing
Kabirji, sorry. I mean, I'm in the fix. No, but Kabirji, I had a question, Kabirji. I mean, if you start looking at Vajrayana and so on, I mean, is it possible for us to think about desire without attachment? I was just curious.
We're not talking about Vajrayana here. Vajrayana or Vajrayana is something else. We're not at that level yet to talk about Vajrayana.
Sure. You're taking the shortcut now, Kabirji.
No, of course, this is a very good point you've raised because, yeah, in case people, freak out and decide to leave the Zoom session because they're upset. Yeah, Vajrayana for sure looks at the purity of everything. In one sense, everything is very pure, but that's at a very deep level, and a level which takes some yogic practices to understand, the purity of the body, the purity of desire, the purity of everything at some level. That is the transformative aspect, is not easy to just get in touch with. Initially, we have to deal with the unreasonable, pain-inducing level of gross desire and anger and so forth that are playing havoc with our lives and the world. Our attachment to food, good meat, is helping us destroy the forest, right? The planet. So it's that level of greed and desire that Shantideva is talking of here. And he's picking on sexual desire because it's one of the strongest desires we have. But he might as well also be talking about greed in that sense of excessive attachment towards status, material objects, food, anything. But because he's talking to monks, and I guess he would like it if, the monks keep their vows well and keep on studying properly at Nalanda, he has to engage in a kind of scare tactics.
Yeah, exactly.
In a way. But we cannot say it's totally unreasonable. We cannot say that. For the reason that if we were to deconstruct, if we were to look deeply at another, at this body, not at a tantric level, but at another more ordinary level, we see that it isn't something pleasant, actually, for the ordinary mind. And how quickly we can be put off also, isn't it? Like that example. How many men and women, I'm sure, must be put off when they marry someone who may look a certain way, or because of the image they have of them, and be actually quite handsome or attractive, worldly sense when they marry, but then as they get older, they get, flabby and fat and, all the rest of it, don't look so great. And then the desire goes down. That must be an experience many people have, And so then people are looking for excitement elsewhere. Things change so fast. And who wants to, what level of desire would we have towards a partner when they're sick and smelly and sweating and, having fever and vomiting and, whatever. From a male point of view, I'm wondering how many men probably lose their desire, at least temporarily, when their wives become pregnant, for example. Or when the child is born and the mother, the wife, is showing so much interest in the child, then, how many men would get pretty pissed off with that and lose their sense of desire. So, desire is a very ephemeral and ridiculous emotion in one way. And of course, it creates so many problems.
But Kabirji, I think desire, it certainly does fade. But I think if it yields to genuine affection, that can form a very healthy basis of commitment.
Of course it can. Of course it can. But then one has to be ready for impermanence.
True.
Change. And you may have affection for someone, but then you get upset when somebody else shows interest in your partner. You get jealous and upset and angry, and it's hard to forgive them if they, also prove if they are unfaithful. Occasionally, can one forgive them? Can one live with that? So many things.
It's complicated.
It's complicated, yes. That's one of the problems. There are ladies here. What do the ladies think? There are more ladies. There are 4 or 5 ladies here. So what do they think? Don't let this be a male discussion of desire. Aditi, Nishi, Richa, probably.
Yeah, Kabirji, I'm having a dinner, but I'm listening.
Who's that?
Nishi.
Oh, I see. You're having dinner, are you? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, turning into saliva and excrement, but don't worry about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Slowly.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Vikram is also chewing peanuts, probably with his gin and tonic or whatever he has at this time of day. Or maybe
Gin and tonic.
Coke and rum, is it? Or is it a double whiskey, Vikram? Tell the
No,
truth.
I hate to disappoint you. It's a Nimbu Pani.
Oh dear. Yes. Well, very good. Very appropriate. A Buddhist Zoom session. Yes. Very good. Well, yeah, it's this is all food for thought. We don't have to come up with any very clever commentaries right now, but it's interesting, desire. And it's painful, and it changes. And of course, now with modern technology, it's amazing how desire can be stimulated, by a small screen. As Dzongkar Rinpoche says in one of his books, it's like totally a projection of the mind. It's not like you can only feel desire for a living person or something. You can feel incredible desire for something that's being advertised, right? Whether it's food or a car or a motorcycle or a body, someone's body. I mean, desire is just, all it needs is it doesn't need much. It just needs, 1, 2, 3 inches. I think each of these square rectangles on my screen are probably 2.5 inch or 3 inches by 2 inches or something like that. We can feel desire looking at it. Or hatred, of course, or aversion, or just indifference. I'm just seeing the name there, Naveen, Ajit, Rishi. I don't feel desire or aversion because it's just some letters. But of course, if Naveen hasn't been nice to me in the past, then looking just at his name will make me feel upset. Or if it's someone I lust after, then wow, just that name will make, me stir with desire, just looking at that white name on the black background. It's crazy in one way. It's totally ridiculous. Totally
Can
ridiculous.
I ask? I love the point about these screens kind of controlling desire. So I think the question that I'm now thinking about is, where does it actually come from? How much of it is coming from ourselves and how much of it is conditioned? Because I think a lot of the desires that we have, it's kind of like some of them can be collective desires and some of them can be individual, and they can change over time, as we've talked about. So where does it arise from?
Well, where does what? The original desire arise from? Or the ones you have mentioned? Because you have very properly, I think, stated how so many desires are collective and they change. It's the male concerning a female beauty. It was something different in the Middle Ages, at least in Europe, from what it is now for many men, and maybe also for women. There are changes in what they think is an attractive male, etc. But if you're asking what is the root cause of desire, is that what you're asking? Because if you are, then there's a kind of philosophical answer to that too. That, the root of desire is craving, is ignorance, actually, ignorance. But that he mentions, thinking there is a real person, there is a real object to be desired or not desired, objectively there from its own side, inherently good, inherently desirable. That's a key aspect of what makes us feel desire. We really think the thing out there is something, yes. Anyone of the old students remember the definition of attachment? We've had it so many times. So definitely Ajirji will know. Sagar should know, but he's looking nervous. Naveen, can you remember the definition of attachment? I think I've asked you several times, poor man. Can you remember? Really?
Now I'm looking nervous.
I'm going to have to give
Though you can't see me.
black marks in books. Sagar bhai, aapko yaad hai? You remember the definition of attachment, which is desirous attachment, we might also call it. No. You can say no, that's all right.
You grasp at it, I think. The word grasping is there. I remember that much.
No, the word grasping is not there.
Oh my God.
Is it the movement of mind towards an object that
Obviously.
is
Yeah.
desirable?
Yes, that's right. But that's not the definition of attachment. Ajir ji, save us all, sir. Ajir ji, hum sabko bachayenge. Haan ji. You can do it, sir.
I think it is the
Think.
the exaggeration of the worldly qualities. I would really put it exaggeration.
Okay, let me save time. Yeah, that's good, but the actual definition, the formula, not the formula, the definition we've been using is it's a mistaken mind that exaggerates the attractive qualities of an object or person, and thinking that it's going to bring happiness, wants to possess it, wants to enjoy it, wants to get it. So it could be an apple, it could be a car, it could be a person, it could be a position, it could be anything. You know, male spiders desire female spiders, and vice versa, although the female eats up the male after sex, I'm told, which is not very nice. But, you know, we may desire a car, we may desire a book, you know, we lust after a book that we really want. We lust after a particular kind of crockery, which we see in a sale. We lust after people, of course, after people's bodies. We can lust after an actor or actress. When what's happening is a mistaken mind is exaggerating something. Why do we say that? Well, we say that because, okay, if say you think some person is really attractive and wonderful and nothing, you know, really, but then if it's true that that person really is that way, if it's true that you haven't exaggerated, then the whole world should look at that person that way, right? They should all think, how wonderful. But it doesn't happen that way. Why doesn't everyone, if you are attracted, desire, a tremendous attachment towards a particular color, then why doesn't the whole world also love that color the same way? Why, you know, if it is not an exaggeration from your side? You see what we're saying? It is an exaggeration. You're exaggerating the attractiveness of that object so much that you actually think it's going to bring you happiness, a lot of happiness, and then you want it. It's not enough to look at it. Also, you somehow want it. You want to experience it. So anyway, that's a simple definition of attachment. Anger, the opposite, in the sense that it's, again, a mistaken mind that exaggerates the unattractive or ugly aspects of an object or person or situation and wants to push it away, wants to harm it, wants to destroy it even, get angry with it. So yeah, that the definitions are helpful. They're showing that it's a mistaken mind, it's engaging in tremendous exaggeration, which is coming from your mind, our mind, not from the object, it's coming from our mind, you know. We can just be turned on by a white name of somebody, then obviously it's our mind doing that, because not everybody else is turned on, right? Of course, collectively we can be, as you said, turned on or turned off by certain things because the culture kind of is promoting that. So certain aspects of the body, of things, you know, we can feel very attracted to Coca-Cola for various reasons, because it's been bombarded, the whole advertising thing's being bombarded on us for half a century and more, etc., etc. But you could also say as a species, probably by and large, yeah, we are collectively attracted to other bodies, each other's bodies. But again, as the modern movements are showing, it is by no means the case that men just want women's bodies and women want men's bodies. It's much more complicated than that, right? Some people want all kinds of bodies. So how about that? That's kind of more fun, really. But yeah. So it's all very, very fraught and very interesting and difficult. What do you think, Richa Mahajan? What do you think? You look a little, what shall I say? Now you're looking happier. Yeah, before you were looking a bit bemused and maybe not very happy. So what do you think?
No,
Is this
no,
helpful?
yeah. Actually, this is my first day in this
Oh dear,
meeting.
sorry to hit you with this. This is a difficult day to begin.
No, I was just comprehending all what you said. But I have a question, sir.
Got a what?
Maybe I have a question, a small
Yes, please.
question
I thought you said
regarding the
That's my hearing.
regarding the illusion. Okay,
Yeah.
so we say that this world is an illusion,
Like
and
an illusion, not a complete illusion.
yes,
Obviously
okay,
not.
like
It
an
is
illusion.
like an
But
illusion.
for me,
Like-
let's say for me, my
Yeah.
family, love for my family and for my mother, father, my child, my husband is definitely not an illusion. It's very much real for me. So,
Yeah, for you it's real. For you it's
yeah,
real. But it is like a dream, like an illusion, because if it were totally real, in a sense, it wouldn't change. And one day you're going to be separated from everyone you love because someone will die first, or things will change. Plenty of marriages. I mean, I don't want to create any sort of misunderstanding or feel that I'm putting some kind of weird curse on you, but some marriages end in divorce. Why? They felt, oh, this is my soulmate. This is the one I want to live my life with and have children with. And you have children with someone. And then a few years later, you're fighting for money, in a court. So if that's not a kind of illusion, then what is? The attachment to that person, the feeling of love and everything, where did it go when you're now bitterly fighting with them in court? You see what we're saying? What we're saying is, of course, your children. I'm not saying your children are a complete illusion. That would be a stupid thing to say. Because if they were a complete illusion, you wouldn't need to feed them. You wouldn't need to send them to school, But of course, they are real people who require food and love and schooling, etc. Well, some people say they don't require schooling, but I won't get into that. But they require proper education. They require love, of course. But to see them as some kind of real identities who are going to last forever and always make you happy, that's problematic. And I'm afraid we've come to 7:59 and we're going to have to carry on this tomorrow when I'm in Delhi. I'll be in Delhi tomorrow rather than Goa, and the fan won't be going on above me. So this room I'm enjoying in Goa right now will be like a dream tomorrow, I can tell you. My body will be covered with a lot more layers. And the temperature will not be 28 or 29 degrees as it is now. So that'll be a little bit like an illusion. You know what I'm saying? So I have to stop now because a friend is coming to take me out to dinner. So I'm sorry we have to end there, but I hope there's been some food for thought. And the text is attached with the posting. So if you want to look at the text and review the verses, look at what's coming, the trailer for the next session. You can look at the delights that Shantideva has in store for us, A lot of material, obviously. Chapter 8 is a very long chapter. So yeah, all I can say now is thank you very much for joining and spending an hour and a half of your precious time. I appreciate that. So we can dedicate quickly the session that each of us finds some more understanding of the path to happiness, the path to peace, and the path that will help us develop more love and compassion for ourselves and for others. So also may this be a cause for us to continually study the great teachings and the texts of great Indian masters like Shantideva, understand them and put them into practice. May all the kind teachers have long and healthy lives and continue to guide us. And please dedicate and pray for people you know who are sick or ill or lonely or having a lot of suffering one way or another, who have just died. Dedicate this positive energy we may have generated through our study of this text, dedicate the positive energy to their happiness, their peace. Okay, everybody, thank you very, very much indeed. Sorry.